big theme of the 2024 NFL regular season is invest in running back, especially if you're a good team or a team near a contender level. And we're seeing this more and more as the season goes on. Second contract running backs are really earning their roles and really showing that they got it in them. The leader for the offensive player of the year race is a running back. Second place, a running back. And third place for MVP right now to the odds is a running back. So let's talk about it. This is Son of a Sports. Let's get into it. The purpose of this video is to do two things. Educate people on why it's good to invest in running back, and to educate people on why maybe it's okay to let running backs go. So let's start with the Derrick Henry example. Derrick Henry has been one of the best running backs, if not the best running back, over the last 7 years, 10 years. He didn't start in the league strong, but he won an Offensive Player of the Year, was an MVP contention when the Titans were leading the AFC, and has remained one of the best backs in the NFL. He's been incredible. He's like second place right now for Offensive Player of the Year. And the Ravens noticed in the AFC Championship last year, they didn't trust in their running game. If you look in the second half of that AFC Championship, you can blame play calling, but they had little faith in their running game to really get them over the edge. J.K. Dobbins was hurt. Gus Edwards is older and not the type of running back to run every down. And Keaton Mitchell was out for the year, and they didn't really have a running back that they could really, really trust in. Well, they went in the offseason and paid for Derrick Henry, which Derrick Henry and the Titans were not going to continue with each other because the Titans were not in a place to pay a 28-year-old, 29-year-old running back money and invest in him and waste his time when there are no area of contention right now. Let's go look at another example. Saquon Barkley. He's number 3 in the MVP race right now. He's number 1 in the Offensive Player of the Year race right now. He's been unreal for the Philadelphia Eagles. And it hurts to say as a Cowboys fan, but they went all in on going to get someone else at a position of need. Not even a position of need. DeAndre Swift had an okay year last year, but they realized they could do better and that they should do better, and they went and gave good money to Saquon Barkley. Philadelphia Eagles have already put themselves in a prime position to make a Super Bowl 2 years ago, and last year they noticed some weaknesses. Offensively, play calling wasn't great, and that they desperately needed to make some changes. And what did you do? You went and got the guy that has been one of the best running backs in the NFL when healthy since 2018. And Saquon has an injury history, yes, but you gave him a good offensive line. You're giving him the ability to play with play calling that can trust him a little bit more. I mean, Dable's been great with him, but I think it's worked. It's a match like a glove. Like, he's been incredible with Philly, and he's been the focal point of their offense this year, like he was the focal point with the Giants. But this was a team that noticed they were in a contender position and went all out for him. And everyone's still dogs on Giants fans, and this is a big reason why I made this video. For Giants and Giants fans, people get dogged on for that because they let Saquon go. And I think it was the right thing to do if you were New York. You were going to pay him a little bit of money, but you didn't want to disrespect him. So you waited to see what offer he got somewhere else, and he noticed Philly's a contender. Philly offered him good money, so why not take the money? Saquon did the best thing for him, and the Giants did the best thing for them. The Giants were in no position to contend, and paying a running back is a luxury. It is a luxury move. Running backs are extremely important, and the idea that to invest little at running back, if you're a contender, doesn't make sense. If you're a team that is nowhere near contention, it makes sense in the current moment because the Giants have Tyrone Tracy now and Devin Singletary. Devin Singletary is not an elite running back, and he got benched for a guy in the fourth round pick that has been pretty good for him. I think the Giants trust that, yeah, their roster is not near contention right now, but if they find a quarterback, I think they're near there. And that's when you would have paid Saquon if they had a quarterback, which they did not. I'm going to talk about a guy that I didn't really have a lot of faith in over the last few years, Joe Mixon. He did not look good in a Cincinnati offense that actually had good run blocking. If you look at it over the last few years, Cincinnati's offense really improved in their run blocking department. And the Texans' offense has been okay run blocking wise, but it's been night and day. He is way better this year than he has been in recent years. And I mean, you can go back and say Joe Mixon's been elite with the Bengals because of that insane game he had 2 Christmases ago. But I think he really declined last year. And then this year, he's starting to look like a completely different player, weirdly enough. And it's because they're running a lot more outside zone. They're getting him involved early. They're not just embracing passing, they're embracing Joe. And that sounds like a weird thing to say, but giving confidence to your running back that you believe in him and that you believe he can be a focal point of your offense, the focal point of your offense, that's how it works. And there's moments this year where I definitely still see the weaknesses of Joe Mixon, the 4 yards a carry guy, but still going to say he's one of the best backs in the NFL. And without him, the Texans would be even more of a disaster this year. I wouldn't say they're a disaster, but their offense just has not been it. The Bengals, I think moving on from Joe might have been the best thing for the short term, just because you weren't going to pay him. You need money to pay T. Higgins or Jamar Chase, and Jamar Chase. I think they're going to probably let T. Higgins go and pay Jamar Chase. And Chase Brown has been really good for them over the last few weeks. They traded for Khalil Herbert, and they got Zach Moss as well. That's a 3 running back room that you can be a little bit confident in. If Zach Moss can come back next year and be, somewhat near the back he was in Indianapolis in 2023. And Bengals, everyone keeps saying, why haven't they gotten a lot of crap for it? I just think they knew what they were doing. Joe has really worked for the Texans, and I think the Texans saying they had to go all in, I think it was the smart move to do. And I criticized it a lot at first, but I was wrong. This was a move that also got a lot of criticism because Packers fans wanted both Aaron and Josh, and Aaron's now a Viking. I think the thing you can take away from this move is I think the Vikings and the Packers did the right thing. Vikings had a horrific rushing offense last year, and Kirk Cousins was near an MVP level for a big chunk of last year before he tore his Achilles, but they had no rushing game, which took away a lot from their offense and put them in a position to fail a lot of the time. Well, Aaron Jones is now in that backfield and has made things a lot easier for this team. And Jones, the thing that's better for Green Bay is that they moved on to a younger running back, a more healthy running back, and they took a big risk there. And I'll talk about that in just a second. But with Aaron Jones, the Vikings knew they need a running back in the short term. They wanted to capitalize on this year and see what they could do and not just throw in the towel this year because J.J. McCarthy tore his Achilles and Sam Darnold's going to be the starter and J.J. would have been a rookie if he even played. They knew they had a good offensive line. They knew they had good weapons, and they went and got a quality running back that has been really freaking good for him. And it's a good running back for the short term. Let's talk about why the Packers moved on and got a different running back. Josh Jacobs. So moving on from Aaron Jones going to Josh Jacobs. Josh, he might be a little younger, and he has a little bit more health to his game. Aaron's had some injury issues over the last few years, and they've shown that they think they need more running backs behind Aaron to fully capitalize on that offense, and they didn't have that. Last year when Aaron got hurt and A.J. Dillon had to come in, God, A.J. Dillon was so bad last year. But as I was saying, Josh Jacobs, he's been really good in this offense, and you're seeing things from Josh Jacobs' game that you didn't even see with the Raiders when he led the league in rushing 2 years ago. He's more of a receiving back than ever. He really gives them still a big speed boost. He's faster than he looked last year with the Raiders. Last year was just a rough year for the Raiders as a whole offensively, and I think giving him a chance to go in Green Bay, keep giving him touches and believing in him and his athletic ability, it's worked out for him. And I think the move for the Packers was to go get younger, go get a guy that they believe in a little bit more, can be healthy, and a little bit more of an upside, and it's worked out. Like the Packers just capitalizing on the youth that they have and the short term of trying to win now. And I know this video seems like a random video to make. Why would you make a video about running backs and all that? But, if you go look at the list of the top rushing offenses in the NFL, it's teams that have invested at running back pretty clearly. Ravens, Lions, Eagles, 49ers, Packers, every starter on their team or guy in their rotation is a former first-round pick. Maybe not drafted by him, but signed for or traded from him. Washington, they just signed a running back on their team, and they had a running back from the third round already on their roster. Tampa Bay, they've invested multiple picks at running back, and they had the worst rushing offense a few years ago over the last few years, but now it's better. Atlanta, first-round pick at running back. Cincinnati and Kansas City are the only teams that haven't invested top 3 round picks at running back. You can go look at the Vikings, Aaron Jones. They signed one. Saints, Kamara, but still, you know what I mean. Saints, second-round pick at running back, and backup as a second-round pick at running back. Buffalo, second-round pick at running back. Cardinals, they signed a running back. Texans, they traded for a running back. It's just a common theme. You have to invest at running back. And the teams that are at the bottom of the offenses in the NFL, a lot of the time are teams with either really, really bad quarterback play or are struggling to find a running back. If you take a look at the teams with the worst offenses or the worst yards produced in the NFL, a lot of the time it's running back issues. New England, worst receiving core in the NFL. Carolina, a lot of inconsistency with their offense this year. Bryce looking like he struggled at the beginning of the year, then Dalton looking okay, then struggling. Their rushing offense is still pretty good, and it's what's been holding them as a lifeline. Jacksonville, horrific rushing offense all year long. You can blame the offensive line for that, but ETN has not looked very good. Bigsby has had his moments, and then they try to put Dearness Brown in the game sometimes. Cleveland, Jerome Ford until Nick Chubb came back, and Nick Chubb has not been perfect. The Raiders have been horrifically awful running the football. The Jets, one of the worst run blocking lines in the NFL, and for a long time they tried incorporating Braylon Allen, who had negative rushing stats, and they didn't know how to use Brees properly this year. Chicago didn't have the running offense going off the ground with bad play calling. And then after that, you're just starting to look down the list. And you're seeing some teams like the Broncos who had inconsistencies, the Colts who inconsistent at quarterback and running back that has not been perfect, and then the Cowboys. I think the Cowboys are the biggest team you can take a lesson from here, which is you should invest at running back. If you have a good quarterback, you have good receivers, you're in the right position, invest in running back. Cowboys haven't done that, and that hasn't worked out in their favor. I think there's some teams that you can keep looking at, and you're like, if you don't invest in running back, it's going to tear your franchise apart. It's going to lead to something bad not working out in your favor. At least with the Chiefs, they got a steal in Pacheco in the later rounds and had running backs in their rotation that they were confident in all year with Derrick McKinnon, who was one of their leading receivers. That was a team that won the Super Bowl. Eagles went to the Super Bowl against them and were a good running offense. Last year, 49ers, we know how Christian McCaffrey is. Chiefs again, Pacheco, a good running back rotation, or a decent running back rotation, and them having to change up their running back philosophy, honestly. It's just, I know this video seems like a bunch of like rambling and yapping about running backs, but in my opinion, I think you have to do it. And I think you have to know when to do it. Because if you're a bad team that invests in running back, you're stuck with a guy and you're wasting his time, you're wasting your time, and I think you probably need to invest in better positions in need. And I'm saying this a lot as well because in this draft class, there's going to be a lot of running backs. And there's going to be some teams that think, there's going to be some teams' fan bases that are like, this guy would be really good to have. And they're in no position to go after it. There's talks of Giants fans wanting Ashton Jitney. I don't think it'd work for him. Cowboys fans, I'm still skeptical as a Cowboys fan of the idea of going after Jitney because of what the Cowboys need. But yeah, this was a quick yap session about running backs and all that. Hope you enjoyed it. This is Son of Sports. I'll catch y'all next time.